Hi everyone, welcome in. My name is Gabby with Arizona Science Center. Happy May the 4th for those of you who are Star Wars fans. May the 4th be with you today. Thank you so much for joining us for a 1 p.m. demonstration today. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about mummification and how you can learn about mummification at home on your own. Now, what is mummification? We've heard this term a lot before, maybe in our history classes in school and things like that. But what does it really mean? So mummification is when there's a deceased person or animal whose skin or organs, some sort of tissue, has been preserved. So a mummy is different from a skeleton because a skeleton is just the bones. Everything else has broken down over time. And a mummy has some sort of organic matter, the skin, tissues, the kind of soft parts of a body. Now, this can happen from tons of different ways. Sometimes by nature can even create a mummy, just by drying out and allowing things to be preserved. Sometimes this is artificial and intentional, something done by humans, different cultures throughout history. Now, normally in nature, things break down, right? Soft tissues like skin, they become one with the soil, microbes get in, water gets in, all of that breaks down, and you just have kind of the parts that don't break down as often left, so things like bones. Now, this mummification process can sound a little confusing, and maybe we don't think we see it all the time in our day-to-day lives, but there's a lot of kind of mummified items that you might see in your everyday life. If you've ever seen a taxidermy animal, that's an animal that's been preserved. That's mummification. I have a date here, and as you can see, it's just a small piece of fruit that's been dried out, something like a raisin too. These have been preserved and, in a sense, mummified. If you've ever eaten beef jerky, this is meat that's been preserved with salt and being dried out over a long period of time. That is mummification as well. So there's kind of everyday mummies that we see. But mummification has been going on for centuries and centuries by cultures all over the world. Something like some civilizations in South America, they mummified their loved ones using the heat of the desert. And sometimes the snow and cold can freeze dry something. So if you've ever had freeze dried fruit or the like ice cream, the astronaut ice cream or backpacking foods and stuff that's all freeze dried, that's essentially mummified as well. So we're going to take a look at Egyptian mummification in specific and one way that you can replicate this mummification at home. So first, in ancient cultures, in ancient Egypt, they mummified their loved ones for what they believed to be continuation in the afterlife. So here I have a little sample person. So once someone in ancient Egypt passed away, they would have to preserve their body using different ingredients. So one of the first steps they did was remove the organs from the inside. So the brain was actually removed through the nose. Things like the lungs were removed with small incisions, the stomach, other internal organs, and they left the heart in the body because they believed that this was the soul of who you are. They used other ingredients like oils to preserve the body. Essential oils like frankincense and myrrh kind of helps with odor and keeping bugs away so they're not coming in and chewing through. And then they also use something called natron. Now, what is natron? This is what really desiccated the body. So that means dried out the body. So natron is a naturally occurring combination of essentially baking soda and salt. Sodium bicarbonate, which is in the baking soda, and salt here. Now this occurred naturally in Egypt, so they used this to their advantage to help preserve the body. And we're going to look at what that preservation process looks like now using an apple. So this apple I have here is just a little slice of apple that you can see is breaking down naturally. I put this in this plastic bag a few weeks ago, and you can see it's really mushy. There's really small pieces of mold and bacteria that have grown inside of the apple. It's very liquidy. It has all of its initial liquid inside of it. So this is when things start to break down, right? As you can see, I can just kind of mush it through the bag. This is natural. This is what happens in nature normally. Now, Egyptians, they altered their process, so they used natron. So to do this at home, if you have an apple slice, you're going to mix a 1-to-1 ratio of this baking soda and this salt once again. And you're going to want to put that in a little jar. So I have a jar here that's filled with baking soda and salt. For my jar, it took about a cup of baking soda and a cup of salt to fill it up. And it needs to be in a sealed container that's cool and dry. So we don't want a lot of water getting in here because, again, water makes things break down. It's great for microbes and things that get inside that are going to eat away at that organic matter. So we can take a look at my apple that has been preserving in this natron solution for about a week or so. You can also make a mummy with a hot dog. So I'm going to pour some of this out, salt and baking soda mixture. As you can see, some of it's clumped together a little bit. So that means that this is doing its job. It's absorbing the liquid from the apple instead of breaking it down. I'm going to go ahead and grab my tweezers to help kind of uncover our mummy. Now, archaeologists are the scientists that look at evidence of cultures throughout human history. So they might be the ones that are studying ancient Egyptian culture and other cultures that used mummification as well. All right, so what do you notice about my apple now? What observations can you make? I'm going to try and dust off some of this baking soda and salt combination. But this apple has been sitting inside of this desiccation powder, our salt and baking soda, again, drying it out, for as long as this apple's been in this bag. Now, what differences can you see? What similarities can you see? They both got pretty brown, as you can notice. They just get some discoloration over time, but our apple inside the bag is really mushy, really broken down. The apple here is kind of dried out. It almost looks like the preserved apple slices that you might buy at the store. And this apple has been successfully mummified. Now again, you can do this at home with an apple or a hot dog if you have. You're just going to need to mix a 1-to-1 ratio of the salt and the baking soda and allow that to sit for about a week or so. A few days it should start to mummify, but make some observations and see how different it becomes the longer you let it wait. So you can see it's almost kind of leathery, and in a sense leather is another kind of mummy. All right. So thank you guys so much for joining us to learn about mummification in nature and in ancient Egypt. I hope you guys enjoyed. Try and mummify some items at home like a hot dog or an apple. Check out our website azscience.org for more awesome science you can be doing at home, and have a great rest of your day.